The ballroom sparkled beneath towering crystal chandeliers, filled with laughter, music, and perfectly dressed guests. Everyone expected the married couple standing at the center of the room to share the first dance of the evening. Instead, silence spread like a storm. When my wife slowly reached out her hand, I quietly stepped back, shook my head, and refused. Hundreds of eyes watched her smile disappear as tears filled them. No one knew that this wasn't a moment born from anger. It was the breaking point after months of feeling like a stranger in my own marriage. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can heal even the deepest wounds, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy. Your support helps these emotional stories reach more hearts around the world. Morning sunlight poured through the kitchen windows as Rowan Mercer quietly prepared breakfast, just as he had every day for nearly 8 years. Fresh coffee filled the house, pancakes warmed on the stove, and a small bouquet of white daisies rested beside his wife's favorite cup. Months earlier, Ilara would have smiled, hugged him from behind, and teased him for making too much breakfast. But lately, everything had changed. She walked past him with tired eyes, thanked him politely, grabbed her coffee, and disappeared into work before he could even ask how she was feeling. Every conversation became shorter than the one before. Every hug felt colder. Every evening ended with another excuse about being exhausted. At first Rowan believed it was only work pressure. Ilara had recently become the youngest regional director in her company, leading massive projects that demanded impossible hours. He admired her determination and never complained about the long nights or cancelled dinners. Instead, he quietly supported her by managing the house, encouraging her dreams, and reminding her that success meant nothing if she sacrificed her happiness. But the distance between them continued growing until their beautiful home felt larger than ever. The hardest part wasn't the silence. It was the uncertainty. Rowan couldn't understand what he had done wrong. Birthdays became ordinary days. Weekend trips were cancelled. Their anniversary dinner ended after barely 30 minutes because Ilara suddenly claimed she wasn't feeling well. She no longer held his hand while walking. She no longer looked into his eyes when saying goodbye. Friends began noticing the change. Invitations arrived less often because people sensed the uncomfortable tension surrounding them. Family members gently asked whether everything was all right, but Rowan always smiled and insisted they were simply busy. Deep inside, however, fear slowly replaced hope. He wondered if love simply faded without warning. One afternoon, while organizing old photo albums, Rowan found pictures from their first years together. There they were laughing beneath autumn trees, dancing barefoot in their tiny apartment after buying their first home, celebrating promotions, surviving difficult times side by side. Looking at those photographs hurt more than he expected because they reminded him that happiness had once come so naturally. As weeks passed, Rowan tried everything he could imagine. He planned surprise dinners. Left handwritten notes inside her work bag. Suggested weekend vacations. Bought concert tickets to the band they both loved. Each effort was met with gratitude but little enthusiasm. It felt as though Ilara appreciated his kindness while keeping her heart locked somewhere he could no longer reach. Then came the invitation everyone in the city wanted. A prestigious charity gala hosted by influential business leaders, where Ilara would receive an award recognizing her remarkable achievements. She seemed unusually excited for the first time in months. She spent days preparing her speech, choosing her dress, and asking Rowan to accompany her. He agreed immediately, secretly hoping this elegant evening might become the beginning of finding each other again. The day arrived beneath clear blue skies. Sunshine illuminated the city as luxury cars lined the entrance to the Grand Hotel. Guests smiled beneath cameras while orchestras played soft classical music. Ilara looked breathtaking in a silver evening gown that shimmered with every step. Rowan wore the navy suit she had once chosen for him on their anniversary. For a brief moment, standing together beneath the bright afternoon light, it almost felt like the old days. Throughout the ceremony, Rowan proudly watched his wife receive standing applause. Her speech inspired everyone present. She spoke about determination, sacrifice, and perseverance. The audience admired her strength. Rowan admired her heart. Yet every time he reached for her hand afterward, she gently stepped away to greet another guest. Hours later, the master of ceremonies invited all married couples onto the dance floor. Music filled the magnificent ballroom. Everyone turned toward Rowan and Ilara. She extended her hand. But something inside Rowan finally broke. Instead of accepting, he quietly lowered his eyes and stepped backward. Without raising his voice, without causing a scene, he simply shook his head. The music continued. The room froze. Guests exchanged confused glances. Ilara remained standing alone beneath hundreds of watching eyes. For the first time in months, she looked completely shattered. Rowan calmly walked toward the balcony outside the ballroom, leaving behind whispers that spread through the crowd like wildfire. Standing beneath the afternoon sunlight that reflected across the nearby river, he finally allowed himself to breathe. He wasn't trying to embarrass her. He wasn't seeking revenge. He simply couldn't pretend everything was perfect for one more minute when their marriage had been quietly falling apart behind closed doors. Several minutes later, the balcony door slowly opened. Ilara approached with tears streaming down her face. She didn't accuse him. She didn't defend herself. Instead, she collapsed into a chair, covering her face as months of hidden pain finally escaped. Only then did Rowan realize those weren't tears of embarrassment. They were tears of exhaustion. For the first time since everything changed, she stopped pretending to be strong. That afternoon, beneath the peaceful daylight, Ilara finally revealed the truth she had hidden from everyone. Months earlier, doctors had discovered a serious heart condition during a routine medical examination. Surgery offered hope, but there were risks she couldn't ignore. Terrified that Rowan would abandon his own dreams to care for her, she made a heartbreaking decision. She convinced herself the kindest thing she could do was slowly push him away until losing her wouldn't destroy his future. Every cold goodbye. Every cancelled dinner. Every distant smile. Every avoided embrace. None of it came from a lack of love. It came from overwhelming fear. She believed sacrificing their happiness now would somehow protect him from unimaginable pain later. Instead, she nearly destroyed both their hearts. Rowan listened without interrupting. Every unanswered question suddenly made sense. The sleepless nights. The hidden medications. The doctor's appointments disguised as business meetings. The constant exhaustion. The sadness behind every forced smile. He realized she hadn't stopped loving him. She had been carrying the impossible burden completely alone. Without saying a word, Rowan gently knelt beside her. He wrapped both hands around hers. For the first time in many months, neither of them tried hiding behind fake smiles. They simply cried together. Sometimes love isn't about finding perfect answers. Sometimes it's about remaining present when life becomes unbearably uncertain. The surgery was scheduled 3 weeks later. Those weeks became the most meaningful days of their marriage. Instead of pretending everything was normal, they finally talked honestly. They watched sunrises together. Cooked breakfast side by side. Walked through quiet parks. Revisited the small cafe where they had shared their first date years earlier. Every ordinary moment suddenly became precious because they no longer wasted time hiding their fears. The operation lasted nearly 8 hours. Rowan remained in the hospital waiting room from sunrise until evening, refusing to leave even once. When the surgeon finally emerged wearing a relieved smile, Rowan collapsed into tears before hearing the words he had prayed for. The surgery had been successful. Recovery wasn't easy. Some mornings Ilara struggled to walk across the room. Some nights fear returned unexpectedly. But this time she never faced it alone. Rowan celebrated every tiny victory as though it were a miracle. One extra step. One stronger heartbeat. One brighter smile. Months later, the same charity organization invited them back to another daytime celebration honoring families who had overcome extraordinary challenges. When music filled the ballroom once again, guests quietly remembered the unforgettable moment from the previous event. Everyone watched. This time Rowan smiled first. Without hesitation, he extended his hand toward Ilara. She smiled through joyful tears. As daylight streamed through enormous glass windows, they shared the dance they had both waited so long to find again. There were no photographers capturing the most beautiful part. No applause. No speeches. Only two hearts choosing each other once more. Their story spread quietly through friends and family, reminding countless couples that silence often hides pain rather than rejection. Honest conversations may feel frightening, but they can rescue relationships long before it's too late. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Legacy. Your support allows these stories of compassion and healing to reach people who may need them the most. Special request, in memory of every relationship saved by honesty, please comment, love grows stronger when hearts speak the truth. Not every marriage ends because love disappears. Sometimes people push away the ones they love most because they believe they're protecting them from pain. But real love isn't built on perfect days or hidden sacrifices. It survives because two imperfect people choose honesty over fear, compassion over pride, and hope over silence. And sometimes, the most beautiful dance begins only after both hearts finally stop pretending everything is fine.